Everyone tell us, and this is the patch 13.9 preview, and obviously the rundown will go out on FlyQuest's YouTube channel as per usual, as this is the current setup of things. So let's just get right into the preview. It is another Nothingness patch, and it's so dreadful. If you guys didn't watch the podcast with me and Max Waldo, that was very long, it was uploaded to the main YouTube channel. We talked very in depth about the problem with all of the balance changes that's going on with Riot's patches. And this is another, it just is. It's just another Nothingness patch. So let's get right into it. We also have the Kale and the Neeko changes. Neeko is not Nothingness, but again, Neeko follows the same philosophy that I've been saying for years. If you go back on YouTube videos, you watch me and Nemesis argue about the release of new champions or reworks and stuff. We have grown dependent on them as a viewer, consumer of like LoL esports, etc., because they're the only way that pro play ends up getting, I guess, like breath of fresh air. And that's why I'm so for reworks and I'm so for new champion releases, etc. And also why I'm really sad when champions don't debut at MSI, Worlds, etc. So let's talk about it. Aatrox, Trox, whatever you want to call them. Passive, damage, health ratio 4 to 10% based on level, 4 to 12% based on level. Ult bonus movement speed 50 to 80 to 60 to 100. So he gets magical footwear. He gets magical footwear and he almost gets tier 1 boots for free at level 16. Now the thing is that this will not alter or change why you're picking Aatrox. And because Aatrox is not already currently picked, he's not going to get picked even more because of this change. It's not going to reinforce why you would actually pick him if you were doubting like why you were picking him. This just isn't going to change anything. Now, the ult bonus movement speed, it can matter in some of his matchups for spacing in like top lane and stuff, but realistically, this is just like, it's a placebo buff. That's what it is. Volibear, W health damage ratio 5% to 6%. W heal health ratio 7 to 13% to 8 to 16%. So again, you really have to look at the numbers here and then ask yourself, what is this doing for Volibear? Because most of the time he's going to end up being inside of the jungle, which means he's not going to get access to a lot of base levels, which means that his points and all of his abilities, most likely, obviously, E is going to be the last max. Now, E being the last max doesn't really matter a whole bunch for Volibear because he does just want Q and W when he's coming inside of the jungle, which then also means that he only needs to actually be level 13 in order to get value out of stuff. So he does get access to this buff in most competitive games. Is it going to mean that Volibear suddenly starts getting picked? Sadly, it might. Pro players and their affinity for champions that basically do nothing and just serve as a facilitation tool and don't really power farm or do anything like that. I mean, we saw it all the time, right, with Vi and Wukong and stuff like that. If ever Volibear is able to just 1v1 the meta junglers and out-sustain them and just be a point-and-click stun via his Q on most targets, Volibear will return to pro play. Volibear's not a good champion, and he shouldn't be picked, and that logic should not be sufficient enough to justify a champion getting picked in competitive, and yet it is. You know, I mean, that's what's going on there. You know, I mean, that's just what we do. Okay, so the Volibear change is a placebo buff that will push Volibear towards probably coming back into pro. They will remind players that Volibear is there. Pro players will probably overreact to this, not actually think about what the number actually means. They will go and pick Volibear. They'll realize that actually he can 1v1 a lot of the meta junglers right now, and that, you know, with Force of Nature and like other tank items, etc., that he can be exactly what they want him to be. And as soon as they realize that, I think that he'll end up taking over Vi's place or something inside of the meta. That's my prediction. Amumu, W base damage 12 to 28 to 20, and W percent HP 1 to 1.6 to 1 to 2%. So this is a buff. Yeah, this is just a buff to Amumu. And it's an outright pretty big buff in early game. That's actually a really big buff in early game. So that's very good for Amumu inside of the jungle. Spica will be very happy. Swain, Q-base damage, damage 60 to 140 plus 38% AP to 65 to 145 plus 40% AP, so 2% AP buff. Swain, with a lot of the changes, does get a lot of ability power. Don't forget that a lot of the AP items have just been getting more, and a lot of the mage items have been getting more and more AP. It's very negligible. It's 2%, right? Don't get it twisted. It is 2%, okay? He does throw out his Q a handful of times inside of a team fight. The base damage going up is nice. The main question for me is, does this affect his wave clear? Does the actual 5 damage and the 2% ability power have any breakpoints? And obviously Swain players might know this, where the backline minions end up getting killed faster, or even the melees. If that is the case, it's a massive buff, because now Swain saves time. Swain saves several seconds per wave, and he's able to just do things a little bit differently. If that's the case, bonus damage per bolt, 12 to 52, plus 8% AP, to 15 to 55, plus 10% AP. So again, the question still remains, if it alters his ability to push a wave, then it's a massive buff. And that's the only way that minor damage buffs like this end up actually doing anything. If it does not alter that whatsoever, it doesn't do anything. It alters his total damage dealt throughout the course of a game, but the amount of times that it's going to have transformative value into changing or altering a mid lane state, a top lane state, bot lane, Swain, AD carry, etc., is very negligible. Trundle. Base attack speed 0.6 to 0.67. Base mana is now going to go up by 60. So is this any reason to suddenly start picking Trundle? No, it's not. It's actually not. Trundle was best in the Radiant Virtue meta, and he went unpicked completely. So when Radiant Virtue was in its previous iteration, and all the physical damage, our AD champions were running around the Rift, and the jungle comeback EXP, and the punish, and jungle camps gave less gold, and all those other things. So many patches ago, that was actually Trundle's best iteration, and he wasn't picked then. If he gets picked now, it's genuinely just really sad. Champion nerfs. Passive HP on Scion. Passive HP loss 2 to 19 +1 per level, to 2.3 to 24.4, 1 to 1.3 per level, is a complete joke. Again, it's his passive HP loss. This doesn't affect why pros pick Scion in competitive in top lane to act as an island, because even if you kill or dive Scion, he still gets the wave, which makes him very valuable. This does hurt some of the Scion cheeses in competitive, where he's racing against a turret with the the jungle leashing into the 4-man dive onto a turret in bot lane. I think that does get hit a little bit, but that's it. Jinx AD growth 3.4 to 3.15. How will we live? How will we live that we lose 1 AD now at level 5? What are we gonna do? How will Jinx ever cope? I just don't know. Oh my god, she's still gonna kill you in 5 autos. Isn't that amazing? Late game, she's still gonna do that. So obviously the Jinx thing is hilarious. You guys might have saw me and Jack Spectra memeing it on Twitter, and that's what's going on there. Champion adjustments. Okay, so Talia RCD lockout on taking down damage. On taking damage doesn't matter. It does not alter why you would pick or play Talia. And then Bel'Veth Q modified monster damage 120% to 140%. Attack damage growth 1.7 to 1.5. So this actually nerfs solo lane Bel'Veth, but again, it's 0.2. Okay, it's 0.2. It does not actually do anything. It does not alter anything for her laning. This is just such a weird, it's such a bizarre thing. And then obviously she gets buffed inside of the jungle. This is fine. System buff, Lichbane, 75 to 85. So the best users of this are going to be what? They're going to be Fizz and Echo. And realistically, you're probably going to get 3 Lichbanes, maybe in a team fight, maybe 4. So you're looking at 30, 40 damage. Now in laning phase, you don't really get Lichbane until second item. This isn't the Lichbane of old where you'd end up rushing it as the first item while sitting on Ionian boots or something like that, right? So that's not really going to happen. So really you're looking at 30, 40 damage in a team fight. But again, it has to go through resistances, so it's not quite 30, 40 damage. It's a nice buff. Well, it's a nice buff. I mean, it depends on the champion's AP ratios, right? As well, I guess Gigalodon could end up doing a little bit more. But yeah, that's what's going on there. And I guess Victor will really Victor might actually get more out of this. Victor will actually get a lot more. out of this. It'll actually probably be more than 30 or 40 for Victor in a lot of cases compared to Echo or Fizz. Okay, so that's it. So now let's take a look at their reasoning. We're adjusting passive Scion Decay to be about 1 to 1.5 seconds shorter to account for the durability update and Heartsteel. Shifting power so that Bel'Veth feels a little bit better clearing the jungle. That is one of her problems right now. And letting Talia use her ultimate to chase down enemies is a small quality of life change. Nice. Okay. So these are the Neeko changes. Now, if you guys already saw my Neeko reaction stuff, and I apparently got the R wrong in that video, which is totally fine. Neeko's base abilities, which are the reasons that you pick her, by the way. It's the QW and the E. That is the reason that you pick her. Pop Blossom is not why you play Neeko. And now, obviously, the passive, these are all really good changes. She's getting a lot of extra value. So she loses 5 here, but then as soon as you go over 100 AP, everything over 100 AP is a buff, right? Explosion deals 30 to 70 bonus damage to monsters, so they're making it so that she can jungle. And then Shape Splitter W. After casting, you can reactivate, send the clone to a new location. Empowered attacks deal 50 bonus damage to monsters. So again, she's possibly becoming a jungler. Tangle Barbs E, damage 80 to 220 plus 60% AP to 70 to 210 plus 65% AP. So this one you do need a little bit more AP to begin toppling. But again, once you have more AP, which all the AP items are up, then Neeko is dealing more damage. And these are the real reasons that you are picking her, right? Now, in laning phase super early on, it is down. On-hit Neeko does get nerfed by this. Well, on-hit Neeko gets Nashor's Tooth, so for Nashor's Tooth, the Q is going to get buffed, but for just Nashor's Tooth and the remainder of on-hit Tangle Barbs is actually nerfed, so it would balance out between Blooming Burst and Tangle Barbs. Okay, the cooldown, obviously, on the new passive, so they have changed some of her passives where she can't just split push as a cannon minion and take the turrets really quickly by enabling the buff or the debuff onto the turret and stuff. So that's no longer a thing. I do think that maybe there could be some funny things that happen. I think that more likely it's going to happen in solo queue than it is in competitive. One of the things that I will say about this is I think if Neeko just goes glass cannon AP as a support champion, that's probably... I think that's going to be her best, but I'm not totally sure on that. And I say this because the really big change to the W is that you can now check additional brushes with it. So she's getting a lot of extra damage in her kit, and Pop Blossom, after channel, Neeko jumps into the air, suspending all nearby enemies. After 0.6 seconds, Neeko crashes to the ground with all suspended enemies and deals damage to all nearby enemies. The stun lingers for 1.25 total seconds, no longer shields. Okay. Damage 200 to 650 plus 1 to 30% AP, 150 to 550 plus 100% AP. So she loses a lot of damage on her ultimate, but again, her ultimate was not why you're playing her. Now, the enhanced cooldown does hurt support Neeko, but for mid lane Neeko that has access to a lot of gold, you're going to have a lot of ability haste anyway. You're probably going to have Cosmic Drive, you're going to have Zhonya's Hourglass, you're likely going to have Liandry's you're probably going to have Liandry's. I wonder if she could just go Rod of Ages Seraphs and be so tanky with her W, because her W has, I doubt that they changed this interaction. Her W is really cool in that you can cast it in response to targeted abilities, and you can juke the ability. You can also do it in response to an auto attack. So there's a lot of EHP there that's probably only doable on really low ping. But yeah, I mean, these are really good Neeko changes. Okay, so Kayle. Passive Eon hit ratio 25% to 20%, and passive wave damage 15 to 35. E rank to 20 to 41, levels 11 to 18. So they're making it so that you don't have to put points into E. Right? That's what's going on. She gets access to a level 18, which is her second level up. Now, the other thing about this is that it's a buff if you just only have Nashers. Now it's a buff if you only have Nashers as your AP. Well, I guess actually no, because of the adaptive, right, that you'd get from runes. Well, no, I guess once you pick up an AD item, then it wouldn't be the case. R cast time 1.5 to 0.5, AoE delay 1.5 to 2.5, invulnerability duration 2.5, so you get rank 2. AoE radius 525 to 675 to 775, damage 200, 500, 80%, 100% bonus to 200 to 400, plus 70% AP, 100% bonus AD. So this is probably better. Kayle no longer lowers her range when casting ult on herself, so she can now attack while invulnerable, which is a really big change. Is it worth losing some of the damage on her passive? I think it is, because she's dishing out more damage than she normally would. The AoE, I think, is going to be way bigger inside of team fights. The fact that, you know, she can ult and stuff, I mean, that is really nice. Honestly, I would wait to see Nemesis weigh in on this, because he's just going to be able to weigh in the best on something like this. And that is pretty much it for the patch preview for 13.9. So if you guys also saw the Patron 13.8 video, I did a video this time. I did a video going over the tier list. It's on Patron, patreon.com, LSXYZ9. I talked about a lot of Riot's changes and how for solo queue and stuff, there's almost no transformative. There's nothing happening in these patches, and that's a really sad thing. The biggest thing here is Neeko for sure, and then after Neeko, I would probably say it's Volibear. Now again, this is without knowing whether or not Swain's Q alters his wave clear speed. If it does, the Swain change is massive. Because then it would probably end up being Neeko, then Swain, then Volibear, would be the way that we assess that patch. But again, recommend the Max Waldo podcast that I did on my main LoL YouTube channel. And for the actual official 13-point patch rundown, that'll be out on FlyQuest channel next week, when the patch actually goes live. So that is pretty much it. And so I will see you guys all for that one. And then remember that MSI is in less than a week, and I will be doing all the live viewing. Tov is going to be out here. There's going to be there's going to be new guests that are going to be joining all of the streams. Hopefully I have co-streaming. Co-streaming was announced, but I'm not officially confirmed for co-streaming, so I'm in limbo waiting on that. So that'll be really good, and I hope to see a lot of you guys there. Last year's MSI was absolutely insane. We had record numbers for MSI. I've been doing it for 4 years now, right? Live viewings for MSI and Worlds, so hopefully this MSI is going to be really good, and I look forward to seeing you all there. And yeah, all right, see you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye.